Let's paint a scenario. You get home from work or school, and all you want to do is unwind. Your brain's probably fried, your body's tired, and you're desperate to just turn it off all for a bit. And you plop down on the couch, maybe your gaming room, pick up your controller, and scroll through your game library, just hoping to find something that jumps out at you, but nothing hits. So you scroll a little bit more, and yet still nothing. So you switch gears. Maybe you open the eShop or Steam thinking maybe there's something new, but there's not. It's the same sale. It's the same front page you saw yesterday full of the same games. So frustrated, you turn on the TV and pull out your phone. You tell yourself it's just for a quick minute, maybe a quick scroll to relax, but about an hour later, it disappears and you're still doing the same brain rot. Your thumb's moving, but your brain's not. And the intention was absolutely innocent, but the outcome is not actually rest. You're just creating more mental noise. Now, the intention probably feels medicinal, but this entire behavior is just poison. The average person spends roughly 5 hours a day on their phone, most of it being doom scrolling. That's 5 hours of outsourcing your attention to algorithms that don't frankly care about you. 5 hours of letting your brain drift into autopilot while random content just gets shoved into your mind. It's passive, it's very numbing, and it's stealing time that could actually be restful, creative, and frankly, just more meaningful. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that consuming content or playing games is bad. I actually think those things can be incredibly restful when they're done with the right intention. Now, the problem really is when we let it all blur into mindless consumption and behavior, when gaming becomes just another form of scrolling. So here's what I want to do in this video. I want to challenge you, yes, you, to rethink how you are unwinding. I want you to feel empowered to stop doom scrolling and instead use your gaming hobby in a way that actually brings you joy again. Let's go back to that 5 hours a day thing. What if instead of letting that time dissolve into short bursts of random content, you replace it with something deliberate, something immersive, something that actually feeds your freaking brain? What if you actually spent time feeding yourself with the natural curiosities that you probably have of adventure with something that's actually beautiful? Imagine this. Instead of bouncing between TikTok and YouTube shorts, you pick up a handheld or sit down with a controller and actually make progress in a story. You choose to invest in a world that was crafted with purpose, one that rewards your attention instead of actually just draining it at the end of the day. There are so many incredible stories out there, games that move you, challenge you, and leave you thinking about them days later. And if you just redirected those 5 hours a day, the ones currently swallowed up by your phone, you could clear your entire backlog in a year easily. And that's exactly what I've decided to do most recently, reevaluating my relationship with my phone. I've been trying something new, intentionally replacing doom scrolling with meaningful gaming sessions. Instead of mindlessly pulling out my phone, I try to grab my Steam Deck or my PS Vita and play something that I've actually been curious about. Most recently, I've started doing this discipline with a game that I've never played before and have always wanted to try, Fallout New Vegas. For the very first time, a game that literally came out over a decade ago. I've always heard people talk about how it's one of the best RPGs of all time, but I've just never given it a shot. Playing it on a handheld form factor on my own terms has been incredible instead of doom scrolling. I've always considered it not to have enough time to play it, but actually I do have time to play it. And there's something deeply satisfying about progressing through a story that I'm choosing, one that's not just trying to hand you things on demand every 10 seconds. And it's not just that one game. Yeah, New Vegas is renowned by many people, but I also ran this experiment with a game called Firewatch, which is probably one of the best story games that I've played in years. And I don't think I would have actually carved out time to experience it if I didn't intentionally choose to distance my relationship with my phone. Again, the mental barrier is always, I don't have the mental capacity or the time or the desire to immerse myself in deep games because I don't have time. And instead, I'll just choose mind numbing practices. But the reality is, when I remove the mind numbing practices, I actually do have time for the games that I have been neglecting. Now, I'm not trying to be preaching this video, but what surprised me the most wasn't just how fun gaming became again, but it was actually how my brain felt. It felt quieter. I felt like I could unwind and rest easier. I wasn't being overstimulated, wasn't being pulled into 50 different directions after work. I felt calmer in general. Now, I'm not going to lie, those first few days, distancing my relationship with my phone, they felt brutal because I kept motioning to grab the device mindlessly. I wasn't aware of just how subconscious it has actually become. It was more like muscle memory. But once I pushed through the initial discomfort, I started seeing the shift. My attention span came back. It actually got better. My creativity came back. And more importantly, I stopped feeling like I was just wasting time. And that's the hardest part, is that you get done with doom scrolling and you still don't feel satisfied. And yet you actually feel like, shoot, I just wasted all this time. Might as well go back to doom scrolling because I've nothing else to do now. But now hang on, there's actually more. There's a second issue I want to talk about. It's something called game doom scrolling. It's the same spirit of what we're talking about. Maybe you don't scroll endlessly on your phone, but maybe you scroll through your games. You boot up one game, play it for 15 minutes, you get bored, move on to the next, and rinse and repeat. You never settle into anything long enough to actually experience it. Now, you're not alone. I've done this too, and many of you in the comments can probably relate, but it's a feeling that you want to play something new, but nothing feels right. So you bounce between games, hoping that something just hits, but it never does. I think this happens actually because we've lost our boundaries with the hobby of gaming. As kids, we didn't have 200 plus games in our library, let alone our backlog. We had maybe 2 or 3 big titles that we had, like on the N64, for instance, and we squeezed every drop of joy out of those titles. Games felt magical because they were rare. We explored every corner, talked about them with our friends in school, the cafeterias, and we built memories around these games that lasted for years. Now, with digital libraries and endless sales, we're overloading ourselves with options. And ironically, that's actually made games feel less special. So here's my proposal. I would encourage my audience to pick fewer games and play them longer. It's like, seriously, put that guardrail, that limit on yourself, because I think we are all overly stimulated with options. Now, instead, take a wind back. Imagine coming home from work or school, and instead of scrolling through your entire library, you pick one game from your backlog and commit to it for 2 weeks. That's it. No switching, no checking sales, or just scrolling through your backlog. You pick one game and you lock in for 2 weeks. No matter how dull it feels in the beginning, just commit to it. It might sound silly, but I think it's a discipline that if you're honest with yourself, you would realize that maybe you actually need that. By doing this, you start to rewire your brain away from instant gratification. You learn to sit with the slower parts of a story, and you rediscover the patience and curiosity needed to actually experience a full game. Games are literally meant to have highs and lows. That's the beautiful part of stories. Those quiet moments make the big ones hit harder. But when we've been training our brains to chase the constant simulation, even those natural slow parts of the game start to just feel uncomfortable. And that's when we jump ship from game to game, and we actually miss those magical moments. I genuinely think that this addiction to high dopamine spikes is what's crippling a lot of gamers today. You got anxiety, you got depression, you just feel genuinely uncomfortable in yourself. I think it's actually a cry for us to reset our brains, to build a new relationship with the hobby that we have always loved. Now, if you're curious about the results of playing, say, one game for 2 weeks, I actually ran this experiment on numerous different consoles and handhelds and different games. Well, most notably on the PS Vita, I ran it with Persona 4 Golden for like 50 days straight. That's all I did. No doom scrolling. And it was amazing. I really felt like my eyes were open during that time. I realized that I wasn't just not doom scrolling anymore. I actually was enjoying the hobby that I thought that I might be falling out of love with. And it really called me out because as I started to enjoy the game again, I realized I wasn't on the Steam store scrolling like I had been before that. And when I forced myself to stick with one title, something really clicked within me. I pushed past the point where I normally would have quit, and I got through the slower segments and even learned deeper mechanics, and then fell in love with the game that I had been neglecting for literally decades. And the game wasn't just fun, it actually felt like this discipline was restorative. Now, I realized that I've been mistaking overstimulation for enjoyment, and that was the real lessons learned here. When it comes down to my brain activity, I just needed to slow down and actually savor something. And that's what I want to encourage you all watching to do, is to savor the games. And that's really the point of all of this. There's nothing wrong with gaming at all. There's nothing wrong with content, actually, but there is something deeply wrong when we've trained ourselves to consume them in the wrong frameworks. We've built the habits that leave us constantly searching for stimulation, and yet we wonder why we never feel satisfied. And then we default to endlessly scrolling through our phone or through the Steam page. And that's really where I want to challenge all of you. This week, when you get home from your job, from work, from school, whatever, go home, pick up one handheld or one console and choose one game, and then just play it. And only that for 2 weeks. That's all you do. No doom scrolling, just play the game. And if you want to go one step further, don't look up strategy guides. Just don't even min max, right? Just play the game as if you were a kid that didn't have internet, and just experience and love the story. I think you'll realize your brain will start to function in a better way. And at the end of the day, I think that's what matters most, being a healthy gamer. So if you enjoyed this video, give me a like, give me a subscribe, check out the Discord. We'll continue this conversation over there. And if you want to win a game on your Steam wishlist, because again, I don't think buying is bad. It's just how we use that in our daily practice. But if you would like to win a game on your Steam wishlist, sign up for my free newsletter, because at the end of the month, I'm picking one person on my newsletter list to buy a game for them for free. So I'll see you in the newsletter. I'll see you in Discord, guys. Have a great day. Stay nerdy. Tell your grandma I said what's up, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.